Hey everyone, Joe Menza here, and I want to go over a few things. And most of my videos, we discuss this brush. This is the Ranson Hake brush. These are made from goat hair. They hold and absorb a lot of water. I have a lot of videos for beginners that show exactly how these work and how much water they absorb. And you can see when you soak this in the water, they hold a really large amount of water. Now, a lot of people are used to using, probably if they've been doing watercolor, a lot of people are used to seeing this kind of brush, which also holds a lot of water. This would be like a round, or there's larger ones that are mops. But for us, I'm one of the admins over at the Ranson group on Facebook. And Ron Ranson was a teacher that wrote several books on using this particular brush. And the reason that he used this brush is so that you're not using tiny little brushes, and you're not, taking little brushes like this. One hair brushes. These are meant to be, large landscapes, and they're meant to take away the fuss. So you're not supposed to really be trying to go in and fix and do things and things like that. Now, a lot of my videos that I make are to show this brush because I enjoyed it, and I still enjoy it, and I enjoy the process of painting. This would be like loose, large brush. So again, you're not fussing. And we also use a very basic palette of colors, around 6 or 7 colors. Those are typically freshly squeezed out, although some of us let them dry in the palette. Paints are expensive, and we don't want to waste. Paint. Now, typically you will have some kind of cloth that you can dab your brush on, and then you have your paper, which this is Arches paper, 100% cotton. If you're a beginner starting out, you might want to use something that's less expensive, although the type of paper you use will be the #1 factor in affecting how your work turns out. It is considered that artistic art brand or artist grade paints are the premium, and cotton, 100% cotton paper, is a premium product for your work to come out the best that it can, for you to have the best chance at it. However, I will say that the way that we do it is with the Hake brush, or Hake brush as it's properly pronounced. You can get away with a little bit more because we're kind of slapping this on the way that we go about doing it. So the original, the basic idea is okay, so you should have something underneath your paper that gives it a little bit of an angle. And then some believe in wetting your paper down first to get the paper wet. And some people believe in not wetting it. This is something that you will find over time, that what you like or what you don't like. Some people clip the paper, some people tape the paper off. In this case here, because it's on a pad, I've taped it, and I like to do the reveal. So I've wet this down. You can see a little bit of a sheen there. And then what the next step typically is, if you're following this method, and if you come over to our group on Facebook, let's see here, this is a yellow. We want, I'm gonna go into my bag. Always seem like I don't have raw sienna handy. I'm gonna squeeze a little bit of that out. Raw sienna is an old color. It doesn't turn green when you mix blue with it. It's been around forever. And when you, let's see, we should mix this over here. You can't see it off camera too well, but we mix it in such a way, maybe I turn it this way. So we have a very diluted tint of this. And this goes all the way across the paper. You can start off a little heavier on top and then work your way down. And then the next step is going to be to make some sort of cloud pattern. If if you're doing a landscape with skies. Now you don't have to, but I try to stick to the script more or less. There's multiple ways that you can put a sky in your painting. Now a lot of us, we don't sit there and we don't paint clouds in. What we do is we'll take maybe some blue and a touch of red, or even this Paynes gray, which is one of the colors, and you get a nice deep blue there. And a lot of us will come in and the easiest thing obviously here is to make a solid color coming down. Let's just do that and not make it complicated. And you can make this darker. Few strokes as possible with the Hake brush, and then just come down the page. Now, I've found that the easiest way to make clouds, if you're into making clouds, is to take a tissue and to lift them out. It should be dry, and you'll have to flip it over. So if we're lifting out clouds here, it should be a dry, and this is not that dry. Let me grab a dryer towel. And you have only a couple minutes really before this starts drying to work this. Clouds toward the horizon should be smaller, like this. And there's your cloud scene. And now what you're going to want to do is put in some kind of foreground. You should probably be looking at a photo of some kind. But most people are going to want to put in like shrubbery of some kind, or some kind of, we'll go ahead and we're going to grab some yellow and blue. And I do keep a green on my palette. I use what's called Undersea green. It's one of the best greens that I've found. And there's a nice green. So let's say you want to have some grasses in here. Just a stroke across, minimal strokes too. You don't want to mess too much once you put that in there. We'll take and we'll use the corner of the brush. The brush has multiple ways you can turn it. You can go straight, and you can make straight lines like this. You can go this way. You can make trees this way. We'll go back to that for a brown. And then you can use the corner of the brush, almost like it's licking the paper. So if you're making trees or foliage, you could do like that. Also, if you go to brown, you'll notice I don't wash the brush a lot. Don't wash the brush after every color unless you're going back to a lighter color. So we'll put in, grab a little bit of Paynes gray just to vary it up a little bit. So this would be just a very basic landscape. Now, one of the things we all like to do is we'll take like a credit card and they'll make like little marks with the credit card. You can scratch in rocks, or you have to wait till it dries to a certain point to be able to do this. Otherwise it'll fill in, just like that is filling in. So it's too soon really to do the scraping. So we'll just wait a minute for that. It's okay, I have a line there, whatever, but let's go ahead while we're waiting for that to get to that proper level of dryness. I'm going to squeeze out some of the water here. I don't want as much water in there. I'm going to take some brown, Paynes gray, a little bit of blue. And this is the easiest way for most people to make trees if you want to put a tree in, is to use this side of the brush and sort of tap it in. And there's a very simple tree. And then what you're going to want to do is, this is what we call the rigger brush. This, you get the same colors, make it a little more watery. and we flick these branches out. My goal here is, because I enjoy this so much, is to get you to pick up a brush if you've never done it. There's many brands of the Hake. I like the Ranson Pro Art version, but you can make others work too. They just don't have a lot of them don't have a straight line. Once you have something like this too, is you can do little grasses by flicking this. Just by moving this around, this is fun to do. Now, sometimes you might find a situation where you want to wait for things to dry before you put a tree over the background. It's better that it dries, but for the sake of time, we're not going to do drying or hair dryers or any of that stuff. Now you can see this is dried a little more, and I can scratch with this. And the same thing goes for, let's go ahead and get the Hake brush back. Get a little bit of brown, darker color here, maybe a little of this green. We'll put some grasses over here. Okay, and then when this dries properly, one of the things we like to do is put rocks in by scraping with the corner of a credit card. And then we'll come back with this brush and anchor these in. A little bit darker there. Now, if you're uncomfortable with such a large brush, they do make different sizes of these. And I also like to anchor my trees in too. Like so. And sometimes you could take a little extra yellow. Accidentally got a little bit of red in there. You know, is it the prettiest picture here? This is a demo meant for those starting out. We can even put in some branches on this tree up here. We could put leaves in this tree just by using the natural part of the brush, like so. Come across the middle, and we have a couple of trees, foliage, a few little rocks. Now, we didn't use this brush. This brush is usually used for man-made items, but you can, if you want to put a little. But those are the three brushes. Now, over time, have incorporated. I like to use a fan brush. For me, I can create different things and trees and shapes. This is something I've developed sort of, on my own. I can get a lot more paint in there, and I can really get the paint off the palette with it. Because it's a firmer bristle. I can even do this too. And another thing you can do, you can scrape in tree trunks for a very realistic type tree. I went a little too far with that. Make a little hole going around. You see these. Sometimes trees have little roots popping out of the ground at the bottom. And then I might come back in and go over the top with those. Put in a little darker greens here. Once again, anchoring these stones in down here. And this is a very, like I say, little scene. Again, you can do little effects by lifting things with the paper towel. You can even put in, which is always fun, we can put in let's put in like a figure. We'll maybe have somebody walking over here. Person has a little backpack, maybe they're going for a hike. And then what we're going to want to do is light's coming this way, so we're going to put a little shadow off of there. And have a little figure standing there. And you could put a dog in there, and you could do all kinds of stuff. Put a little hat on him and have him going in there. And maybe he's walking up around this path or something like that. And you could put in other little nice effects. We could put in more sticks. You know, you can get as crazy as you want here and put in a bunch of different things. If you want to put it like a bird, have a bird. A couple little birds in there. Sign your name on the bottom. And then what you're going to want to do is peel the tape off and take a look at your work. And we'll do that now, even though it's not totally dry. So I don't want to stop the video and dry it. You can use a hair dryer. Go ahead and peel this back carefully. And you can see, because I lifted this soon, strip down a little bit. Again, you take your time. You make these into masterpieces. I'm here just to show you many possibilities. I know people like to critique the work, but this is not that. This is work. Critique, if I couldn't sell you on picking up a brush, then you could say, hey, what you showed me, I'm just not interested in painting because of it. I'm here to encourage you. So that's my point. Let's get a mat. And I don't want to get paint on this, but this is the final version. And I think that was fun. I think we've got some unique things there in colors and whatnot. It's not perfect, but did we have fun? Did we enjoy the process? And another thing, you know, when you go to paint these, draw it out first on a separate piece of paper, plan it, draw it, and then meet us over at the group, Ron Ranson Disciples, over on Facebook, and let us know how you're using the brush and how your painting process is coming along. I thank you, everybody, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll see you next time.